This is an Icon Ministry production with the support of our ministry partners and donors.
God takes the ordinary and makes them extraordinary on one condition, and the one condition is that we surrender our ordinary to God. When I was a seminarian studying for the priesthood, I lived in Australia. My family lived in Malta. I hadn't lived far away from home for many years, and I was on the other side of the world. I missed my family. Every day I prayed for my family. I still do. But especially at Mass, I became very melancholic because I was missing my family. And so what I used to do was I used to have a little trick between myself and God, and that was I used to go and bring up the offertory, the gifts during the procession. It was my way of connecting with the family. Let me try and explain. When the time came for the offertory, for the gifts, I would sit at the back, so I would be the first of the seminarians to go and bring up the gifts, the ordinary gifts. Just think about the gifts that are brought up during the offertory. It is the most ordinary things: bread, flour, and water, and all it is just simple ingredients. And then you have the wine, which is work of the earth. It's just crunched grapes that have been fermented, very ordinary things. And what happens during the offertory is that they are processed up to the priest and they're brought to the altar. They're surrendered to the altar. And the ordinary, guess what? Become extraordinary. They become the body, blood, soul, divinity of Christ once they are surrendered and offered up to the Lord. Now, this is what I used to do. I used to imagine as I walked up through the procession, I would hold the paten, or I would hold the place where you had the wine, and I would just imagine placing my family on the paten. I would place my brother, my sister, my parents, and I would imagine carrying them up to the priest, the ordinary things in my life, the things I needed to offer God, and the priest would take them onto the altar, and he would offer my family up as an intercession. Now, again, this I think is something so beautiful that sometimes we don't have control of our lives, the ordinary things in our lives. Sometimes things are overwhelming, sometimes things are tiring, sometimes things are confusing, but we can always offer them to the Lord. And what God does is that when we surrender the ordinary, He makes them extraordinary. Think about the jars that were filled with water. They were ordinary jars. They were the jars literally to wipe the dirt off the feet of the people who visited. They were jars that would stay outside. They weren't beautiful, ornate jars. They were the ordinary, but they were the largest, but they were the ordinary jars used for the most ordinary of tasks. But yet Jesus says to the servants, fill them up, and they obeyed. Draw the water, and they obeyed. Take it to the host, and they obeyed. This is what God requires of us, obedience. Even when the wine has run out, even when things seem too ordinary to cope with. And the beautiful thing as well is that Mary is by our side, reminding us to surrender this ordinary to God so that He can make them extraordinary. Jesus, I surrender myself, my life, the tiredness, the depression. I surrender all that I am, my family, all that I have, the ordinary, that You may make them extraordinary.
This production is only made possible because of the generous support of Icon Ministry partners and donors. Please go to iconministry.com/support to make a donation.